Ladies and gentlemen, if I were to ask you what the definition of poverty is, what would you say? Most of us would say, well, it's a lack of resources. It's not having clean water or adequate shelter. It's a lack of good food and education and things we need. And that's what they found when they did a study and they asked people from affluent societies what was the definition of poverty. But then they did something incredible. And they went and asked the people who were lacking resources in developing countries what their definition of poverty was. And they found something absolutely incredible. They said things like it's shame and discouragement and hopelessness. And it was emotional pain, it was hurt. And so the definitions of poverty were very, very different. And so when you get people from affluent societies trying to make a difference in the world by fixing poverty, they're going about it by bringing in resources, by giving gifts, by helping people get more stuff and more things, but not always helping with poverty. And so it often happens that in our humanitarian efforts and with the best of intentions, we actually do helping that hurts. And with this in mind, all of our humanitarian efforts, as my family and I, we traveled around the world, and as I helped co-found Cultiva International in Guatemala, we always had this idea of we want to help empower people. We want to give them the power. We want to help them help themselves. And that's this huge message I want to share today, that in any and every philanthropic or humanitarian effort you ever want to be involved in, from helping people in your own home to helping people around the world, make sure that you're always helping people help themselves, that you're empowering them, that you're giving them this empowerment from the inside out, giving them hope and confidence and competence and the education to really believe in their ability to make their own lives better. Whoo! That's the most important thing we do. Every year, I lead a humanitarian expedition to Guatemala, where we work with Cultiva International. And we're helping these incredible Mayan people up in the mountains of rural mountains of Guatemala to help themselves. Right? We're helping them help themselves. We're helping them grow their own food for their families and building garden boxes. And we're teaching them the tools, teaching them mindset, giving them the ideas and the training. So it's a learn and earn program where they go and they learn the skills and then get the resources. We help them with that to then take care of their families. And because Guatemala is the fourth malnourished country in the world, there's a lot of problems. And it's all built around like nutrition, providing for themselves. And so we're empowering mostly these women and these families to raise their families up out of poverty. It is incredible, mind-blowing, awesome. And every year I go down there with these groups, we have such, I call them sacred and special experiences and opportunity and privilege to step into somebody else's world. And this is rare and beautiful, where you're invited in to their space, their life, their world, their little home, their little shack, wherever they are, and you get to touch and experience a part of their life. And they touch our lives. And we learn from them, and in turn we get to share and teach them. And it's this beautiful relationship, this absolutely incredible experiences. I want to tell you a quick story. One year we were down there, and we divided up into groups, and I ended up with a group of young ladies that day who had come down from the United States with me. And we walked these cornfields, and we had the tools and the resources to go help a family build a garden box. And they'd been through the training, and it was a mother, a daughter, and there was a young son who was out working in the potato fields. And it was Santa was the mom's name, and Santa was the daughter's name, and Maria was the mom's name. And we got there and started working, and I quickly realized that Maria, the mother, was blind. And even in her blindness, we helped her put her hand on the drill and helped her. They'd never used the powered tools before, and we helped her like put in the screws. It was awesome. She was all excited about it and loved it. And I started thinking quickly about the scenario and the situation and wondering what was happening. And I asked Santa about her father, and it turns out that he had died almost 10 years ago. And I quickly realized, if mom's blind and dad's gone, who's providing for this family? And she's 17-year-old. She said, "Well, I am." And it blew me away. Here's a 17-year-old girl providing for her mother and her little brother and for herself. And I said, "Santa, have you ever been to school?" And she said, "No, I've never stepped in a school in my life." And we were speaking in Spanish. And I said, "Well, how have you learned Spanish?" I could tell Spanish was her second language. Up there they speak Cachiquel or Quiche. And she said, "Oh, there was a kind gentleman here in the village that's been teaching me Spanish." Because most of the students learn Spanish when they go to the schools. She did not know how to read or write. And I said, "How are you providing for your family?" And with so much pride and with her chest out and her shoulders rolled back and confidence, she says, "I make beautiful corte, the beautiful dresses." And she sews it. And she says, "I do a beautiful job. My corte is excellent." And she wanted to show us. And so we took a break and we went back and we saw where they lived. And they just had corrugated tin, which was just a metal fort or hut, as we'd called it. And there was a little bed in there, 2 wooden beds, no real mattresses, a couple of blankets, a little dresser, dirt floors. And she and her mom shared a bed, and her little brother had a bed. And she showed us the corte that she would sew, which was beautiful. She did a phenomenal job. And I asked her how long it took to do one corte. It took her 3 days. And I asked her how much she earned. And it was the equivalent of about $6.50 US. And this young lady was supporting her family. And now you remember, I was with a group of young ladies. And I was translating to them. And it hit home that day for all of us. Here's a young lady just about their same age, born into very different and difficult circumstances. And she was stepping up and being a leader in her family. And that day we were helping them plant a garden box that would provide more nutrition and more food for their family. And they were going to be in charge of doing it. It was incredible, powerful, life-changing for me and for the young ladies that were with me. So I wanted to share this and share this whole idea that as you go out, and I hope you'll be involved in philanthropy and humanitarian efforts at every level of life. Any kind of philanthropy is just helping people be better. It's helping them reach their potential and live their best lives. But if you're interested, I want to invite you to join me in a humanitarian expedition to Guatemala in May. You can find more information on worldschoolacademy.com and come down for a trip. It's a 7 or 8 day trip. We'll go down there. We have amazing adventures and experiences. We get to see the culture, enjoy the food, get out on the volcanoes and the mountains around there, and the lake and the water, and then do some humanitarian efforts. It's a literally a life-changing experience. It's mostly for youth, and parents always come along, so youth and parents, but depending on the age of the family, if parents come, it can be a family trip as well. So go check that out, worldschoolacademy.com. Check out that trip, and if this is something that calls to you, it literally is a life-changing experience. I go back every year. I love it. Our family actually lived in Guatemala for a total of 2 years, and it's extraordinary. So come join us on a humanitarian expedition that will change your life and help change the lives of other wonderful people. See you in Guatemala.